series of the war because he can't write
Well, he tried.
females and female relationships.
Well, he tried Samurai 7. I think he tried his own. I guess shot at what would be considered Seven Samurai. Um, I heard that didn't do so well. So
Yeah, and
I.
it's like, oh, the reason why this actually went well was,
Mhm.
big bombs. People loved seeing the ninjutsu and the way people fight. Like, he was really good at that.
Yeah, I think.
Oh,
I actually
you're
think
live.
one of the we're live.
Yeah.
Can you hear yourself?
Hello.
Oh, yeah, I think I heard. Okay, I'm pretty sure I heard you. All right. Um,
Yeah, I think I can hear it, but it's a little weird. But it might be just my microphone going over the live stream.
um, yeah. So I think.
Oh, I can hear myself. Yeah, yeah, I can
Okay,
hear
good.
myself.
Yeah, I think one of the, like I said, because like when you talk about like Warhammer, for example, like it's just the characters are so tortured. And then like the actual fates of certain characters, the way that like the universe in itself operates, it just shows that like in that universe, the universe doesn't care. It takes like a fundamental truth of our world and makes it the whole truth of that verse, that it's palpable and you can feel in almost every instance of like the Warhammer verse that like the universe gives absolutely zero fucks about anybody in that verse. um and then same thing with Bleach, like it's said very early on that like the names have power, and then we meet a character whose entire ability is to control the concept of things, and then he even admits that his power is meager compared to the Soul King, or I guess would be the just the progenitor of the concept of life and death itself. So it's like concepts like are early on important to Bleach, and by the end of the main manga series, it's still important. But like you don't see, I think when you start to see a series change their concepts too much, I think that's when you start to see the fan base really start to mm, like push back. Because Naruto fans, and I hate saying that because I am a Naruto fan, but like they always blame the readers, like, oh, that's not what Kishimoto was doing. You guys read into the fact that he was trying to do an underdog story. And I'm like, actually, it's not the fans' fault. If you read like those first 50 chapters, like that's very much a theme of the series. And to sit here and be like, well, it's a theme and not the theme. I'm like, if it's just a theme and not the theme, there is no the theme of the series. The only theme you could ever say is like what makes a ninja. And if that is the overarching, cuz like that theme is still very much present in Shippuden. If that is it, then we stop talking about the concept of what makes a ninja halfway through Naruto. Like to sit here and
Yeah,
blame the fan base for misunderstanding the concept, that's not on the fans, that's on the writer.
it always is, and I actually just learned this a couple of weeks ago. Is that like the readers are allowed to disagree with the author. Like that's the reason why when something controversial happens, readers like disagree with what happened, and the author just gets a huge backlash.
Hmm. And
Like
like,
they're allowed to disagree. Is the point?
yeah, and I think me and Raid had a big. I wouldn't say it wasn't. It wasn't. Let me not say big, but just we had a very long discussion about. I think you were there about um like the author's ownership of their own IP, in the sense that like a writer can write something and then later contradict that, and then like the fans at that point, like who's more correct, the person who is creating the story or the people consuming the story? And it's like I think a lot of times we don't want to agree with the author because it becomes inconvenient for whatever personal thing we have or want to do with the series, like scale, like power scaling, for example. We Nothing pisses off a power scaler more than for the author to come out and be like, "Well, actually, this character beats this character," and you're just like, "But that's not what's in the story." Like you said that like this character can absorb energy, this type of energy, and this character they fight exclusively with this kind of energy. How would he beat him? So like you're sitting there like confused because of your understanding of the story, but the writer kind of like they kind of have the power, and it's like at that point you have to decide whether you want to accept that or not, and that's usually where people get upset.
Yeah, definitely. And then like the author is like, "Oh, I thought I wrote it like it that that actual character is just demonstrated to be stronger," and it just turned out to not to be the case because that's just not in the story.
Exactly. For those who are here, sorry, we're talking a little bit, waiting for a couple more people to join, and then we'll be getting to it very. But we were having a nice discussion about author intent and stuff like that, and I think it's very prevalent in Bleach because a lot of people will swear up and down they know exactly what Kubo is doing, and in actuality, we have no idea what Kubo is doing until he tells us, and then oftentimes when Kubo tells us, he's trolling us. So yeah, author intent I think is rather important. I think my favorite example is Mace Windu versus Palpatine, Darth Sidious. Like Yoda fans want to scream up and down. There are plenty of people who love Sidious, and they swear that because he's the strongest Sith, therefore, like the only person who could possibly oppose him is the strongest Jedi ever. And I think that's a terrible way to look at it, and I think that's contradictory to Star Wars universe in of itself about how the light side is all intents and purposes the stronger side. Um, but the other thing is like he came out flat out said that Mace Windu defeated Sidious in their duel fair and square. The novelization, which isn't Lucas directly, it's a version of the script that was written for the original Revenge of the Sith movie. Like I hate when people are like, "Oh, the novelization is canon." I'm like, it's canon until Lucas says something otherwise. Because there are plenty of things that were like changed in the making of. Same thing with Ashido. Like a lot of people now consider Ashido from the Menos Forest arc to be canon, but technically he never made his appearance in the manga. So yeah, yes, CBR, always CBR. They make the best videos. All right, let's just. I said videos. They make the best articles.
Well, they're always entertaining to read for sure.
Oh, for sure. So this one is the top or the 20 strongest Bleach characters at the end of the series. With Bleach's return after a painfully long hiatus, fans are reflecting on the anime's strongest characters, updated 4 days ago. There was a time when the big three reigned supreme on Shonen Jump, with all three manga exemplifying the best aspects of the genre in one way or another. Although One Piece, Naruto, and Bleach are still three of the most popular IPs in the magazine's history, the latter two series have already reached their respective conclusions. Due to fans' complaints about Bleach's declining quality, TV Tokyo decided to quote unquote cancel the series before the Thousand Year Blood War arc could be animated. Out of all the ways I've ever seen that written, that's probably the nicest. Normally they're just like, the series bombed, it got canceled, Bleach fans cry.
Yeah, they were probably just like they were probably really trying to get onto TYBW's popularity when they wrote this thing. I'm assuming this is in the time of the anime. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. It was probably written around the like right before the anime dropped, and then it was updated recently on the 5th. Um
Yeah, they definitely wrote it in mind of TYBW's could be popularity.
yeah, so with the anime coming back, it's a good time to take a closer look at Bleach's stronger characters. Um I'm assuming they're going off the manga. That's the only thing that would make sense because there are like manga exclusive stuff in it, I think. If this is going off the anime, I could maybe see some of the stuff, but it's clearly going off of the manga. So at number 20 we have Hachigen Ushoda. I think I'm already disagreeing with the list.
Maybe if it was like a Ronka arc, maybe you could kind of justify him in the top 20.
Yeah,
But this is including TYBW, I believe.
like if you look at it, like you would have to argue that Hachigen is stronger than each. So like we're looking like just quite literally, we're looking at the Gote 13. So we have essentially 13 potential slots that are already taken. And this list only goes up to 20. That's not counting the Sternritter. That's not counting the Iran card that got boost at the end of the series. Like, there's no way Hachigen is at 20. And I actually don't think Hachigen's bad at all.
Yeah, I don't think he's bad. Like I believe TYBW is like just like a whole bunch of monsters,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like jumping between powers of other monsters.
No, like, without a doubt, I think, like, if you look at just, like, the Quincy, like, with how popular, like, Asnot's going to be in the second invasion, like, it's quite crazy just to think that like Asnot himself isn't even. I know some people would argue he's a top tier Stern Ritter. To me, he's definitely in that like realm, but he's the lower end tier of those like upper Stern Ritter. He's not
He
Basby. He's not the elite guard.
he's I definitely agree with you. I think he's a lot lower than what people claim him to usually be. Because like after obviously not to throw stuff about Yamamoto, but like when it just gets declared by Basby that he basically saved Asnot, Nanana, and all that from the Flames. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I mean it's just one and done because like we don't know what attack necessarily Basby used because it could have just been the regular Flames. That could be like well below what even Basby used against the Femrids.
Yeah, like I don't think he. So I know some people have put like an actual power to it, but I don't think he actually ever says what burner thing. I think I think it depends on translation. I'm pretty sure he didn't say he used a burner finger one, because like
Oh, he
that wouldn't
doesn't.
even make
He
sense.
doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't say burn a finger, but what he does do is he immediately says that my flames cancelled out, and then he immediately then does an action. You could argue that was a demonstration, and then that's how you would argue for the regular flames.
Hmm. See,
That he just
that's
uses regular flames, not even a burner finger.
mm. See, that's the weird part, right? Because I'm like, by that argument, I think the thing he used next was either burner finger one or two. Because he was flexing on Toshiro, and it's like there Yamamoto and Shikai would reduce Toshiro to ash. So there's no way we're talking
Yeah, he
those lower
wouldn't.
end burner fingers. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a burner finger. Like I would be okay with a burner finger four. If you're telling me a burner finger four like matched a casual fire swing from Yamamoto, I wouldn't be mad at that at all. But like the people
I
that are like
agree.
burner finger one, burner finger two from Basby, I'm like that seems a bit much.
I agree because like there's like a confusion of like levels of power in that arc because like Toshiro later like you can't justify Toshiro being that high, but then suddenly Giselle treats Toshiro as like her ace in a hole
Mm-hmm.
against Soul Society, like her strongest zombie. And
Yeah.
this is even when she has zombie Bambi and all that.
Yeah, it's actually, and what's funny is she secretly still had Rangiku, Kensei, and Rose in the backup, and she still thought Toshiro was her best shot.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I want. So what they say is Hashigen Ishoda, an extremely powerful and knowledgeable Keto practitioner, is exiled from the Gote 13 because of his inadvertent holification. Beside his seemingly benign exterior, Hashigen proved to be among the most formidable opponents in Bleach. This man has one fight, and it's probably one of the best showings a character can have for their single fight in the series. He technically fights Gerard later, but like it's not a fight.
No,
It's not a fight.
um, it's more like Gerard just blew his breath at him and he flew away. I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm. Quite embarrassing,
it was a
honestly.
bad. Yeah,
Um, What happened to my? Oh, it says my live chat has moved. All right. So not only did Hachigen destroy multiple Gillian class medals with his Keto, but he also developed brand new spells like his trademark Hachigo Sogai. And Hachigen humbly compared himself with Orihime. He said humbly, obviously to the transcendent depth of her powers. Actually, their powers are extremely similar. I don't know why people get offended by their powers being similar when he quite literally demonstrates how similar they are. Um, it's just that like his power comes from being a Soul Reaper and a Hollow, which makes him a hybrid, and then her power comes from the
Orihime
Soul
being
King,
a
which is a hybrid. So like their powers are very similar. I don't know why people get upset at that.
yeah, definitely.
I think it's mostly those people who
And
are like, Orihime is transcendent in a Roncar arc saga, and I'm like, I don't know about that one.
uh, it's a bit weird.
Oh, I've met some people who love Orihime. I mean, you seen Skindy and Raid's top 5 characters in Bleach, like
Yeah.
strut power wise, like Orihime's in their top
Oh yeah, I
5.
know, I know, I know, and that's all because of the Ewok thing.
Yeah.
But
Uh
Alanka Rock, oof, that's a hard pull. Like at least she's up there, TYWW end of series, and she's like in that little fight. You could justify trying to give her some escape.
mhm. And it's like I think one thing that I don't think a lot of people like get, I'm like she has those reaction feats, which is impressive and that's awesome. But like she still hasn't shown any competent battle skills yet. Uh
Yeah, but that's the problem with Orihime is that she's not meant to be a fighter. She's always meant to be that support type character.
hmm Which is why I love her. I definitely probably do a ranking
Yeah.
the support characters in the series because I think there are more of them than people realize, and they're more important than people realize.
Oh yeah, 100%.
19 Grimjow Jaggerjax. Now you might not have a problem with this. I have a problem with this.
It depends on who's in front of. I don't mind Grimjaw being above necessarily Hachi, but like the problem I guess comes from whether they're viewing this as Ronka arc Grimjow or not, because like I think Hachi would stomp Ronka arc Grimjow.
I
Like
it,
definitely
mhm.
Grimjow needs to be getting a lot stronger in TYPW.
I think if I had to, like, I'm not like I said. I think I agree with you. It also depends on who they have in front. I'm like I can feel them justifying it, but like Grimjow, similar to Hachigen, like Grimjow has a great showing against Ichigo early on in the series. Um, but by the time you get to later in the series, he's just one of those characters that unfortunately becomes power wise irrelevant. Now he's still powerful enough to off guard like two powerful Sternritter. I just don't know like if that's enough to get him in the top 20 when like I said, you have to prove that he's above every Gote 13 captain when based on his performance against Hollow Mask Ichigo would put him below most captains even back in FKT in a Ronkar arc.
Yeah.
Uh and then you still have the Sternritter to count against. Then we have we have the Zero Squad in and of itself as well. You would have to get Grimjow over the entire Zero division. Like
And
that's
you're only doing that justified on an off guard feat, which is really sketchy at best
yeah.
because it's just unconscious spirit energy. And on top of that, like I'm pretty sure Askin was about to attack anyway, so he would have been in blood artery than he was bullet pain.
Yeah, he was about to give Urahara the business, which is another thing I think a lot of people don't. I think it's one of those things where it's like Bleach has now gotten the Batman syndrome, and I say that as a Batman stan, of where like because Kisuke and Mayuri always have these get out of jail free cards, or they're like, well, I've prepared for this. So anytime you ever get into a debate with those two characters, everyone's like, oh, well, they would just find a way out of it. And I'm like, Kisuke didn't find a way out of his fight um with Askin, and well, he kind of did, but he was gonna lose that fight. Uh,
He was gonna lose that fight, but he was like, it's like he happened to do things that would help him later, but it
hmm
may not have because Grimjow is like one of, well, I mean, he's extremely temperamental. Like, there's no way, like, he may agree or he may not agree, then he might just leave at all
hmm If
because
Ichigo,
suddenly he just sees someone.
oh yeah, could you imagine if like Ichigo flexed his spiritual pressure like right before that? And Grimjow might have redirected his attention.
Yeah, and just leave. And Keisuke would have been like, oh,
Oh, there goes Plan
damn.
A. Yeah. And then even with Mayuri, like Mayuri only wins because Pernida. Oh, I don't want to spoil what happens, but yeah,
It's
cancer.
really sketchy Mayuri scaling necessarily there, but I don't want to throw stuff about Mayuri.
Yeah, but let's get back on Grimjow.
Yeah,
Grimjow might be a
that
tiresome
one.
blowhard. Oh my god, that is. I've never heard someone describe Grimjow like that. Oh my god. But nobody can deny his overwhelming power. When he triggers his Resurrection Pantera, Grimjow transforms into a dangerous foe capable of deadly damage against the strongest characters in Bleach. While he's not impressively strong in Winko Mundo and Fakar Kurtown, Grimjow becomes a variable force of nature during. What are you using to justify that? He casually defeats and kills Askin Naklavar by ripping his heart out of his chest. Oh my god, they did not just say that.
Yeah, 100%. This is why when you frame something, you need to frame it the correct way
Oh my god.
because this implies that like Grimjow literally just walked straight up to Askin, shoved his hand straight into Askin's chest, and then ripped it out.
Yeah, like what the heck?
When it was just Askin was literally about to attack someone, and then he died
They
from
ca-
Grimjow.
they casually leave out that Askin with one gift ball left Grimjow on his deathbed just prior to this event. Like that's actually kind of crazy.
It actually shows the adaptations that Bleach characters have, which is they're really adaptive for some strange reason. Anyway, keep going.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I this is I've heard some things twisted before, but this is the ultimate twist of that fight. I've heard people twist this fight left and right, but casually kills Askin Naklavar. Bro, Yoruichi, if Yoruichi is not higher than Grimjow, I'm be pissed. Uh,
Yeah. Definitely 100%.
oh
I'll
god.
be extremely angry. Oh, you know what I just realized?
Huh.
The last sentence they had actually shows that they haven't read Camper and World yet.
Oh yeah, they say his fate was
Oh my god.
ambiguous. Yeah.
Imagine what they would say if they even read that.
Bro, I couldn't imagine. I apologize for eating. I don't mean to crunch in your guys' ears. Um, do like, oh my goodness. Well, actually, I think with like Can't Fear in World, you maybe depending on like how you scale Ginjo, you could justify Grimjow in the top 20. Otherwise, I don't want to hear it.
Problem is, I don't think yeah, it really depends on how much you take I guess Grimshell's fight with Jincho seriously.
Yeah, like it really matters how you scale base. I love that this like that Ginjo technically has like multiple forms. So he has like his base, which is no full bring. Then he has like full bring. Then he has Shikai full bring. Then he has Bankai full bring. And it's like Ginjo actually is like probably one of the cooler power sets in Bleach. I hate that it just doesn't get brought up enough.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Also Vegeta. I think Renji's fine where he's at. I actually don't think. I don't know. We'll have to see who's above him. I really don't think like this is that bad of a spot. I think it just kind of looks bad because he's right in front of Grimjow and Hachigen.
I wonder if they keep in mind like spoilers when they're writing this. I know they didn't necessarily do that with Grimjow, but like there's a lot of other characters they could have added depending, you know.
Oh, and I agree. Like I'd be shocked if so like this is what I'm saying. Like when I think about the Gote 13, and then I think about the Zero Division, and then the powerful Quincy, like the Schutzstaffel. I'm like, I probably shouldn't say Schutzstaffel. Let me say Elite Guard. um,
I mean, both of those words are used to describe them, so you're not wrong.
yeah, but like I want to be sensitive to people who know exactly what the Schutzstaffel are. Um,
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
yeah, like, and then when I look at like the Zero Division, like you can't justify Renji being over anyone in the Zero Division. I know people really hate them, but they are immortal captains for a reason. Um, to like say that Renji beating up on Mask is justifies him being over like Senjumaru and Oetsu, I think is just ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
I would definitely put that in the ridiculous category.
yeah. I'd definitely be curious if Mask makes the list as
Cause it's
well. But then
cause
again, he would definitely be below this Renji ver. Is the point?
mm-hmm. Renji has always been extremely strong long before his powers are magnified in the royal realm. Despite the melee nature of his Shikai, he knows how to inflict both close and long range damage with Zabimaru. Yes, Zabimaru is a fantastic mid range Zanpakuto. I love the way Renji uses it early on in the series. It becomes more of like a useless as the series goes on, but like those early showings of Zabimaru are fantastic. Renji's Bankai received a tremendous upgrade in Thousand Year Blood War arc, outfitting his body with a prehensile bone tail. I okay, like that's that okay, whatever. In addition, the Zaga Teppo technique supplements So Zabimaru's offensive power with a Sero-esque blast of pure Ryatsu. I don't feel like Sero-esque is as accurate, but okay. The resulting explosion is capable of incinerating enemies as dangerous as Master Masculine. Renji has come a long way since losing to Ichigo in the Soul Society arc. He had a
Yeah,
couple more
they
losses than that.
definitely Mask was definitely gonna be before Renji in this article, so I'm guessing they're definitely leaving out people
I from I've
that
only
they could
seen.
have added.
I think I've only seen up to Rukia. Before we decided to do this, I don't. From there, I don't remember any Quincy being on the list. So if there are no Quincy on this list aside from obviously Juhaba, like w- that's kind of weird.
Yeah, definitely because Mask would definitely have kicked off Hachi and Grimjaw.
Yeah. Like you could even
But
argue like,
yes,
oh sorry, go ahead.
keep going. I was just gonna say I guess they're trying to justify it with the Yaskin thing.
Yeah, like you could even like justify like putting Basby around this spot if you have Renji here because they lack for a better word kind of stalemated before the Auschwitz showed up. Um and then you have like and then like if you want to be you know particular about it, you could even say Basby would be higher because he would have been fighting Rukia and Renji at the same time, and Renji was in Bankai at the time. So
Yeah,
like
definitely.
yeah, you can make that argument.
Renji got much stronger, and on top of that, Rukia is, depending on whoever is stronger than the other, they're hard countering each other.
Yes, yes. Because, like, if there was ever a character that can keep Rukia's body from reaching that zero temperature, it'd be someone with the capability of increasing heat, which is exactly what his shrift does. So he should be able to counter her.
Yeah, definitely.
17 being Mayuri. I actually am not too mad at this because Mayuri does get by a lot with his devices.
Yeah. And the hardest question is, how well can you scale someone to devices? I even had arguments about this yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, Yoruichi and her balls over Juhaba. He wrecked Jackie, but like first of all, I hate Renji for even wrecking Jackie. That's not a it's not a feather in his cap. I dislike him for doing that. Renji seems to have this weird thing about beating up on women. You know, he fights Rukia, tries to kill her. Jackie. It's very weird.
And what's worse is that Yukio was basically setting up Jackie to die.
Actually, so you know what the weird thing is? Like, I genuinely don't think he was after after the after Ginjo's killed and Tsukushima dies, like he actually is like, you're like the only person I really liked. He like just flat out says it, and then when she,
It's
uh huh,
contradictory though because he knows that the actions he's gonna take is gonna get her killed. Is the point?
yeah, he took those actions before. What I'm saying is he after he's like, I actually liked you, and then he's the one that like is like, if you can survive for 3 years, I'll hire you when my country's when my
Yeah, yeah,
company's three times the
I
size.
remember that statement.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just not necessarily directed at just.
Yeah, Yukio's partially a psychopath, so, but I think he's growing out of that. uh,
Maybe he's got a split personality disorder.
dog. Um, yeah, so I do wanna, say, so back to this, like, Mario being a 17 is like I said, it's not horrible, but at the same time, like, I don't know, it's hard to say because he can still somewhat react to like what Pernida. I'm not even gonna care about spoilers anymore because this article's spoiling it, but like he can react to that Pernida that he's fighting or those multiple Pernidas, even though he's enhancing his physical speed with Hyurien Kyaku. Like he's still actually like seeing the shots and moving out of the way.
Yeah, yeah, but that will be like aim dodging per se, not necessarily scales as set speeds. Would be
I
the
mean,
point.
so I think there were at that point there were 3 or 4 arms with each finger shooting an arrow. So we're looking at 15, potentially 20 arrows flying at him in rapid
Yeah,
succession. So I'd say you'd have to be able to plan out your trajectory to dodge all 15 or 20, like,
well,
and it's like 15 and 20 like coming at you like a machine gun. So
lucky Mayuri is highly intelligent
that's fair. Yeah.
to plan all those things. The high IQ.
Imagine in actuality Mayuri has like he's modified his eyes to be able to just keep up with these things regardless of his spirit energy.
Uh, have you seen Dragon Ball Super?
I haven't kept up with it recently, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's this just one guy that just like he does like arm locks all the time, but he does like he has this like ability to like because he basically has like martial paralysis and he basically slows down time. Well, he's not necessarily slowing down time, but his perception is so good that he can see how the attacks are moving and that sort of thing. I just thought
Is
that
it
was like
is it
might be
someone new?
something you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, definitely. I'm like, are you talking Hit or Granola? I was like, I don't remember that being there.
No. Oh
Yeah.
no. Like if you know Granola, then it's I think his name starts with T. He is one of the troopers.
Oh, yeah. I know you're talking about. I don't know his
Topo.
name.
Topo. That's it. Topo. I
I
think.
thought Topo was from Jiren's universe.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's what I mean.
Oh, maybe I missed something. Maybe I don't. Maybe I forgot his power. But
Oh no, like he's like a veteran. Like he's so experienced in fighting. And at one point, when he was fighting it, and they were shooting all those beams at it, like he perceptioned it.
mm,
Anyway, we can keep going as a bit of supplementary thing.
yeah, no fine. Mario Kart may not be as intelligent as Urahara Kisei, as crafty as Aizen. Oh my god, I hope Havoc never sees that sentence.
He
Bro,
probably already has.
if Havoc sees that sentence, he's gonna flip shit.
He will definitely.
There is nothing that Mayuri fails to analyze, no matter how bizarre or outlandish. Mayuri even modifies the structure and function of his own Bankai, Kanjiki, Ashisogi Jizo, according to his combat needs. So I actually do like that that is his new I do like that that is his he can modify his Bankai to do that now. Like that's actually a really cool
Yeah,
counter for him for the series. I'm
which is
curious how he's going to use it later.
unironically interesting because like that's meant to be how he became captain. Unironically, was that he made his Bonkai or forced it basically.
Yeah. Mari and Nemu Kuritsuchi battle Pernida Jazz in the final moments of the Thousand Year Blood War arc before ultimately defeating the Stern Ritter. That is such a nice way to put how that fight went, because that's not how that fight went. more like Mayuri survived with his life. Nemu died in order to completely stop Pernida from killing everyone. That is a more
and
accurate
then
description of that fight.
Nemu's death then bloodlust Mayuri into thinking upon the most highest IQ of no, actually no, it isn't. That's just normal. Mayuri is how he. That's just yeah. That's just how he normally gets people killed. His villains is that way. He did
Oh, like the
a little
inadvertent.
too much.
He's inadvertently poisoned somebody 3 times, and I think that is Kubo is just. I don't know how he did that, and like it just goes past your head till you notice it. He's inadvertently poisoned Xylopro, Pernida, and Toshiro. To be able to
Yep.
do that 3 times in 3 different ways, Kubo is a. Well, maybe the third one and the first one are very similar, but like they are different technically. But yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
actually very interesting.
Definitely.
Yeah, Mayuri barely survives some of his fights. Like his fight with Uryu, like the fact that he's even still alive is BS. Uh, his fight with Xylopro
Yeah.
was like negative difficulty, if I've ever seen it. His fight with he doesn't fight anyone in the first invasion, and then his second invasion fights are all pretty casual until he gets to Pernida. Like when he gets to Pernida is when he really is struggling.
Yeah, he just happens to everyone before Panida. He basically just walks up and analyzes the building. It's like, oh, you're actually just really easy to counter. Just no one was intelligent enough to do this yet.
Mm-hmm. I think of all of the ones that offend me the most, um, of the ones that offend me the most, it's probably the Xylopero one,
Yeah,
because like he had to specifically travel through her esophagus to get poisoned with what he got. Now he did technically say like her body houses multiple different concoctions, so it's like if he came out, her rear end, he potentially could have gotten something else. Uh,
yeah.
but
I'm 99% sure that Mayuri is like I already know that you know Warhammer, so like I'm 99% sure that Mayuri is like Nurgle, and then like Nemu is just like this concoction of diseases and
she's a walking petri dish,
just
is
like
what she is. Yeah.
yeah,
I do like the Pernida one though. I have to say, like, it's actually because it makes a bit more sense. Like he ate something, because like her being a created being in and of itself, like there's obviously her body, her anatomy and physiology is going to be the same but different. So it's like the fact that like Pernida accidentally gives himself cancer is kind of. I just like the way I like the way Kubo and Mayuri pulled it off. Like Mayuri didn't do it intentionally, but once he realized what Pernida did, he's like, "Oh, I can capitalize on this." So I actually do like that. The Xylopera one, I just hate that fight. I don't.
I agree, but Mayuri seems to be winning a lot based off Nemu's death at this point.
Yeah. So 16 Rukia Kuchiki. I don't have a problem with this. So this technically says end of series. That's what this article is about. So we should be technically talking her captaincy version. So it's like whatever her Thousand Year Blood War version is, plus like 10 years time skip. However, from what we know, that's 10 years of peace. So I don't, like some people, I don't want to assume she's like worlds more powerful. She could be relatively the same power level she was um in the Thousand Year Blood War, just with like a complete Bonkai, not even necessarily mastered. It could be mastered after 10 years. We don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to speculate as much. So I'm like, I'm not mad that she's this low, but I'm one of those people that thinks her Bankai is actually far more OP than people actually realize. Like being able to instantaneously put everything around you at sub zero at like matter stopping speed. I don't think people truly understand how terrifying that kind of power is.
Yeah, it definitely is. The problem is her Bonkai is like probably the hardest ones to train.
Yeah, you kind of can't do it with somebody. You run the risk of really killing them with her Bankai. Like you can't
Yeah,
really train with it.
but then again, Byakuya kind of gave her the resolve to train with it. Maybe. It's a hard one.
Yeah. It's.
It's one of the ones you gotta see what you can do before.
Yes, thank you, Vegeta. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word absolute zero. It was bothering me. But yeah, her absolute zero ability, just like being able to affect that over a range, but also in the same direction you swipe your blade like a Getsuga Tensho. She has like this like area of effect absolute zero Getsuga Tensho, and like that is horrifying because it's one of those things like if she really can do what she does in BBS and just like move around and then activate it whenever she wants, that's I don't see how you beat her. Like I don't know how you beat her. You'd have to
Um,
speed blitz her
as
so
not did
hard.
as not actually did a really good job of it. Unironically, like you mentioned, Matters stopping speed. Well, as not was just moving through it.
He moved through it
Sometimes
the
that's just pure will.
he moved through the Shikai level. That Bankai level is what even in his Volstandic like
Oh
that,
yeah,
yeah, it messed him
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah. It was the Bonkai, but like the point is yeah,
Which is I kind of wonder if maybe she didn't actually hit zero like she said, and maybe she kind of messed up because like this because what she's doing in that Asnoth fight, that's all new to her. Like the true power of her Shikai is new to her, her Bankai is new to her. So like I really don't take any of those feats she makes with that like as being indicative of what she can completely do. Uh
oh yeah, 100%. Well, I mean that's the thing.
mhm.
The Zero Division kind of actually just proves it. Is you could just be straight up wrong on the manifestation of your own spirit. Like you
Oh,
could still be making errors of what it actually is.
yeah. Which is curious because I would have thought if we've ever gotten to see someone else talk to their Zanpakuto aside from Ichigo, Rukia would be it. Aside from the filler arc, we have never seen Rukia actually communicate with her spirit, and I find that disappointing because we've seen Renji, we've seen Shunsui, um, technically by Can't Fear in World, we've seen Kazushini. So it's like to see all these characters talk to their Zanpakuto in the mainline series and not Rukia of all characters, I think is just that's horrible.
I think it's yeah. I think it's a lot limited. Like I wanted to see a lot of spirits because like I'm actually curious about the Quincy spirits because like are they all that young Ewok that Ichigo sees in their ball standing or is it or did they just see that war veteran old man?
Well, actually, I was gonna be. I wonder if they can even do that at all. I wonder if because Ichigo is a Soul Reaper, and actually having an inner world because he has a Zanpakuto, I wonder if those other Quincy can't even actually do the same thing. I
Yeah,
imagine it might
it's
be
like
something exclusive to Ichigo.
I really would love to see the inner world expanded upon.
Yeah, I'd be crazy if like everyone had an inner world, like the Fullbringers and stuff like that. I think that would be utterly terrifying to think that every character would have an inner world like that. 15 Byakuya Kuchiki. Yeah, I don't know. I have to see who's rest on this list. I feel like I'm forgetting someone. But I still think maybe 15 is a bit low.
Yeah, that actually took me really back because I did read some of the article and as he was participating in the same fight as some of the others and they're a lot higher.
Oh, so you think he should be higher?
Yeah, I do think he's a little bit low.
Okay, we'll take a look at that. So Byakuya is nearly murdered by Asnot during the first invasion. After he undergoes a revitalization process in the rogue realm, Byakuya returns more powerful than ever, claiming that he finally understands the true nature of his Bankai. Byakuya demonstrates his newfound abilities against Gerard, casting his potent Ika Senjika on the overpowered villain. Although the Servitor survives the attack, Yuhal's Australian obliterates Gerard from existence, saving Byakuya from certain death. I would like to also say that this is further proof of why I said he is not stronger than Gerard.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah.
don't- I can't.
I'm pretty sure they're all memeing earlier.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, that was bold of them to
But
put.
I will say, I mean, Gerard, there was nothing stopping Gerard. Gerard was eventually gonna kill all of them.
Oh,
Then again, if they're just adding to shirt now, okay, maybe I misremembered then.
so Toshiro, there was a point when Hitsugai was little more than a joke. I don't. I'm not sure what they're referring to. Like he never.
They're referring to his massive jumps in power between the whole series because, like,
I mean, they are ridiculous. They are
yeah,
genuinely.
yeah, I think that's what they were referring to.
Oh, okay. Because I'm like, he wasn't a joke, but like the massive power jumps he gets, I think are even bigger than Ichigo's, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, 100%.
ridiculous.
I agree. I
Uh,
agree. I like Ichigo was struggling to get his jumps and powers between like certain Espada, and then like suddenly Shira's just jumping straight from 6 to 3,
6 to
even if
3.
he is lower.
He jumped from 10 to 3.
Um,
Yami didn't even want to fight him anymore. He's like, bro, you're boring. That's
oh
disrespectful.
my god, you're so disrespectful. I always gave him the loopy thing.
What's up, Pack? How you doing? We're just judging the CPR article as we do on these lives sometimes. I actually had a bit of a day off because I had to take a bit of day off work for some personal issues, but I have some free time now, so I was gonna do this. But yeah, I dog literally in his fight with Yami, Yami's like, bro, this is all your ice can do, and then he goes off to fight Kisuke, and I'm just sitting here like, that's embarrassing. And then literally 200 chapters later, which is only effectively like maybe a month, not even. Um, she literally like he literally is fighting Haribel. That's Ichigo.
Yeah,
Ichigo had to die, had to damn near die to get that same power boost.
100%. Plus a hollow mask on top
Oh,
of it.
I know it's embarrassing. Uh, this and people wonder why I give Toshiro crap. Like, you can't go from getting no diff by Yami to like third Espada.
But then the same thing happens with TYBW.
Oh, dude, I
Like,
can't
at least you
stand.
could say that he got his a different form
If he would have gotten it
previously.
earlier in the war, I would have been okay with it. I just hate how late he gets it.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's just like suddenly he's just like jumping from like potentially the lowest point of TYBW to like nearly the strongest point.
You
Like
could genuinely make the, like you said, you could
Shirobako
genuinely
is the
make the
strongest.
argument. Yeah, he's the weakest captain by the start of Thousand Year Blood War, and then like he goes to being like probably, depending on how exactly you scale Adult Toshiro, the strongest
Yeah,
captain in the series. Like,
100%.
oh god. All right, so there was a point when
And no one
Hitsugai,
else gets that treatment. No one else gets that treatment.
not even Byakuya gets that treatment, and Byakuya's power boost is pretty good too. Like that's
Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
100%.
Uh, what else? Yeah. So even though he couldn't keep up with more experienced colleagues, however, there's a reason why Gini Jamar refers to him as the heavenly white angel who blesses Soul Society once a century. Was that Gin that said that, or was that Jushiro? I feel like that was Jushiro. I might be wrong.
Like, Ging actually talked him up. That
Um,
he like.
Gin, you know how Gin is. He's kind of sarcastic sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit of a meme lord, but I'm surprised he actually made that sort of statement
Yes, Pack debunking
because
CBR video is always fun. Sorry, go ahead.
he might be memeing, but you just don't know when he's genuinely lying or not.
Yeah, that's the best part about Gin. You never know when he's telling the truth. So I know some people are going to be upset with having a Toshiro over Byakuya. I think I think their power level is very close by the end of the series. I just think it's a matter of like how fast can Toshiro get to his adult form. Like, cause you could make the argument because Byakuya is so strong, he would wear Toshiro out faster, maybe giving him
To an
access to
extent,
his
yeah.
form earlier.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But it
I
also
will
means that
say
like,
that that Toshiro only just recovered from being a zombie, and on top of that, like zombie has like all sorts of side effects, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, we also don't know how much he was healed from Mayuri's little.
As well. Yeah, so I mean it's easy to say he hasn't fully recovered. So even then, yeah, you can't know how long. Although there was this one manga panel that actually like specified like 13 minutes or something. But I don't know how accurate that would be.
Yeah. So this is, I know there's always a big argument. I probably should do a video on it. It says Toshiro Hitsugai's Bankai achieves its maximum potential in the Thousand Year Blood War. Daigen Hirimaru can now freeze solids, liquids, gases, and even obtrusive abilities like Gerard Valkyrie's The Miracle.
I'm pretty sure it always did because even in Lost Agent arc, he froze Yu-Gi-Oh's explosives.
I mean, so actually, like technically, he's that's what Daigen Hirimaru's ability is. It is to be able to control the atmosphere. So being able to
Yeah,
freeze
just
liquids
freezing.
and gases is within its capabilities. I think the two questions though are the two feats that I think are more impressive than anything is freezing pure spirit energy in Ryatsu and being able to turn
Yeah,
off abilities. Like I people
turning
over
off abilities, yeah, that is, yeah,
yeah.
100%. But Rukia was doing that in much earlier.
Yeah. So that was another thing I was gonna say. I was like, I think people overhype him quote unquote freezing the miracle. He does it to Hufnung, but he doesn't do it to the miracle itself. He does it to the extension of the miracle, which we've had how long did that debate last? 3 hours? About
Yeah,
how
yeah, yeah.
exactly that happened. And I maintain that it has to do with absolute zero and the functioning of spirit energy, which I will be doing a spirit energy physics class video. So look out for that. Because I think
I definitely
Kubo,
plan to attend that.
yeah, I think Kubo uses spirit, and I think he based spirit energy off of real world physics, like particle physics. And if anyone says they understand particle physics, they're lying. But yeah, so I think I find it weird that like Kubo allowed him to do that for Hufnung, but when it came to Gerard's other miracle abilities, like just naturally resisting elemental attacks, like it didn't work. I guess you could maybe argue that like resisting the element of freezing kind of circumvents the ability of it being frozen. You know what I'm saying? Um, but yeah, there's different ways you can explain what he does to Hufnung. I just never think that like I think people blow it out of him when he's like, oh, he freezes concepts. I'm like, if he can do that, then like he should have killed Gerard. Like, if that's what it is, then he should have
Yeah,
killed
I
Gerard.
mean, 100% Jiro would just die instantly.
Oh, number 13 in her rightful spot. Let's go, Yorichi Shihoin. I'm okay with this. I know people are going to be pissed off about this. I'm okay with this.
Yeah, yeah, I'm extremely pissed about this because of what happened yesterday. No, no, I'm kidding. It's fine.
Hey man, if you wanna sell everybody on your Yorichi over Yuhaba uh
100%,
scale,
100%,
I'm
man.
here for it, bro.
No, no, it's fine. There's way too many premises to go through anyway.
Yeah. I agree, Pac. Like I genuinely do think that the Byakuya Toshiro stuff really does come down to like adult form. I think Byakuya has way too much for Toshiro before that broken adult form kicks in. Actually, I love how you brought up what I said about Rukia's Shikai, that she in base, like in her Shikai, is like freezing pure Ryatsu, and is like
Yeah,
doing it instantaneously, as opposed to like Toshiro's like, oh, I need 4 seconds. So
and then
yeah,
even before then, there already were freezing stuff. Like I can't tell now what is just like intrinsic to the user and just like just intrinsic because they're an ice user.
yeah. Kubo, I know people argue about like the differentiation between like Toshiro's ice and snow type Zanpakuto and Rukia's quote unquote cold type Zanpakuto. I'm like, I guess you could separate them like that and still have
Well, I'm pretty sure it's
Toshiro's.
just absolute zero now, isn't it? not
Yeah,
even cold. It's absolute zero.
yeah, I wouldn't even call it cold. That's exactly how you would. I think the best way to describe her Zanpakuto is just absolute zero.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think we'll see. Also, one thing I do want to also point out about Rukia's Bankai is how much it actually looks like Kayen's wife. I think is kind of surprising.
I'm pretty sure she had a massive crush on Kyan,
Oh, for
and
sure.
she probably wanted to be Kyan's wife, and probably even stuck pictures of her head on Kyan's.
Good God. Soul Reaper Photoshop. So Yoruichi has Zanpakuto. Hey, did someone else jump in the chat?
Alex, but he's muted.
Oh, okay. Yoruichi has a Zanpakuto, but she has never been seen using it. This is because she can easily resolve any conflict with her speed or fist. Agreed. As the Flash Goddess of Soul Society, Yoruichi's movements are barely perceptible, leaving her opponents out of breath and thoroughly flabbergasted. Yoruichi nonchalantly knocked out dozens of trained Omnisquito warriors. Why are you bringing up a god? Why are you bringing up a Soul Society arc feat? That's ridiculous.
At the time, it was pretty top of the line, I would say, but like, unfortunately now it's just why you even mention it.
Oh. So this is interesting. So you remember how we talked about how we kind of argue about Kisuke being in like Keto one shot tier above Tokinata? Like
Yeah.
Yoruichi genuinely actually is one shot tier in her Raijin form. She is one shot tier almost above every Sternritter. She almost killed Askin with one technique. And
Yeah.
the only
Yeah.
reason he survived it was his death dealing. Like, if that was any other Sternritter, they'd be dead.
Yeah. I mean, Askin. Only reason he actually even got to do anything is because like right after that he got Ryatsu immunity. Like
Yeah.
even her little brother also one shotted him almost. So
I love how
Yeah, which is really worrying for Shihao and Prodigyness.
it's because I love how like because the way Soy Foam builds Yoruichi up early on, like she's not only like the youngest person to lead her family, she's the first female out of all of the heads of the Shioin family. She's all these things, and then her brother comes out of nowhere and is already like we're talking about like Yushiro at that point in the Thousand Year Blood War could stomp out quite a few characters in FKT pretty
Yeah.
badly.
he could
That's
stomp
scary.
out. He could stomp, to be honest, any non-elite guard if he gets a good hit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And that's kind of like the
embarrassing.
problem is like it kind of proves Soifon's worship of Chiolans,
Yeah.
unironically.
I mean, the entire Fang family, this is ridiculous. I'm sick and tired of I love Ishin Kurosaki. I like I love Ishin Kurosaki. There is absolutely nothing to justify him this high. I'm
I
sorry.
think
There's
it's
nothing.
probably because of the old scaling from FKT that they just like, oh, he was consistently in high tiers in FKT, oh, therefore he should be high tier in TYBW. And it's just trying to go from those highs of FKT, but like that just shouldn't apply here.
Well, it's ridiculous. Like, so Ishin actually managed to crack Aizen's Hogyoku and Hanskakun form. That's not a big feat. I don't know why. I guess you kind of need to read the data book to know, but like, that's not impressive. Like, you can crack the shell. Like, that's not crazy. It's
I
not
think
like a.
There's
Aizen's trying. He's just
Yeah.
memeing the entire time.
yeah, there's one way, and like very ratty, but I still don't think that gets him top 12. There's a statement in the data books that not data books, sorry, in the Confirm World novels that like Tokinada Tokinada's Rujin Jaka isn't even on the level of Ishin's Gengetsu, like temperature wise. So
Is
maybe
that what he
he's
said?
uh there's a it's not what he said. It's a separate
I
like it's
remember
a narrator.
something.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah,
I
Ray.
know I think he says. Is it the same line where he talks about Yamamoto's, where he's like, "Oh, my
Yeah.
version of Ryujin Jaka isn't the same as
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yamamoto's."
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fine.
it's also where he says like Tokinada will never be no matter how much he trains, he will never be on Yamamoto's level.
Like,
So
Yeah, that would be. Yeah, that's just Tokinada. Yeah,
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 see
so
that.
that's
I agree with that.
See, yeah,
so
but so
like
like,
maybe if you get so well he's below Byakuya, but like if you can get him to like Byakuya level and then you just get Ishin above that, then like, can we name 11 characters, 12 characters stronger than Ishin? I think we still could, but um
I feel like you could still name 20 characters more powerful than Ishin.
uh wait.
Even with
Okay,
that
so
scaling, I feel like you could still get 20
wait.
people.
So Yuha, Aizen, Ichigo,
Gerard,
Ichibei,
Lie,
Yamamoto.
Ichibei, Yamamoto.
Well, no, if you go by just pure power, like I don't see why Lille would be over. Like if he's in that, if Ishin's flames are in that tier, I don't see why Lille would be like in just raw power. Like who would win, but like raw power.
Well,
I
then
like
if we're saying that, then I don't think Gerard wins either, because like Gerard doesn't get like real raw power until he evolves.
yeah. But let's say it's like final form Gerard. Well, Ishin would still be over him, so that's kind of no, not necessarily. Not necessarily. So Gerard, uh,
Because remember,
uh
he's only talking about Shikai Flame Yamamoto. He's not talking about Bankai, so like it's
but
still not that high.
he's also talking about Engetsu.
Oh, that's fair. He's talking about Gensu. He's not talking about Bankai and Gensu. That's fair.
Yeah, and then you have like Kenpachi, Hikone, uh, Aura,
I don't think Kikone and them are on
Ginjo.
this list though.
Yeah, CBR, yeah. But like,
Yeah.
if we were to make our own, uh, people say Byakuya over Kenpachi. So Byakuya, you can argue for Byakuya being over Kenpachi in Camphor World. Because Kenpachi just has blatant statements that he's like the strongest one in the Gote at that point.
Mm-hmm.
There's like he's the strongest Shinigami in the Gote. Then there's like the fact that he's the only one from the Gote who stated to be able to take down Hikone. The other two are Ichigo, Aizen, and then like Ginjo stated that he can put up a good fight. So,
Yeah.
anyone like Byakuya can reach that. Like you can get to that territory because like
Um.
Tokinada is like able to. He's like relative to base Ginjo, but that's like the highest you can get for Byakuya. Then like you know if you give him a Bankai on top of that, but Ginjo's Bankai is like a higher multiplier. So yeah, Byakuya over Kenpachi is like it's not a discussion. Camphor World we'll see for we'll see for Hellark, but the way
Yeah.
Narita went, I think Byakuya's ever reaching his level again.
Well, yeah, because like where Narita puts like just in 6 months, like Kenny is quite literally in a tier by himself compared to like
Yeah,
regular Soul Reapers. He's
And if
literally in a tier by
Hikaran,
himself.
Hikaran was like meant to be like massively above everyone, or like a fair few decent people, and Kenbachi's like, oh yeah, oh Shuhei, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Hikaran's a weak opponent.
Which is scarier to think, even though like I think it was Ray that pointed out to me, or maybe it was Alex, that like Hikone actually, even though he was fighting um that version of Kenny, like he still could have increased his power more. I don't know how much more, but it does. I think he showed me the line where I don't know how I missed the line where it says just like right before Hikone gets called down, like he was about to ramp up his power even more. And I was like, how he's already matching with like eye patch off Kenny. Like, how much more stronger can he get? Because he's already in res by that point in the fight. So it's like, how much stronger can Hikone get from that point? Like,
yeah.
that's crazy.
It's also it's also Genpachi like for example Byakuya or like Byakuya
Oh,
Ricci, Shinsui. Oh, Aslan would probably be Ishin. Ooh.
oh, this is gonna. Oh, okay.
I
Kisuke
guess it's like
Urahara over Ishin.
I mean yeah.
Well, but my thing is, I'm talking about like this article's version because they're scaling like this Ishin to like transcendent Aizen. So I'm like, if they're doing that, like to sit here and put like Kisuke over that is kind of like crazy. I guess they could go off the same feat that he was also capable of damaging, um, transcendent Aizen. but like
Uh,
they don't even
he's
talk
a
about
lie.
it.
They just think Urahara would just Batman Ishin.
I mean, that might be
Yeah, they.
fair.
Yeah, well, Ichigo technically defeats Aizen. The ladder might have escaped if not for Urahara's sneaky Kido. Like, that's not really. It's not just Batman. That's also like Aizen was so incredibly weak at that point. It doesn't even count.
Oh, actually, yeah, it's harder because Kisuke's Bonkai, the Mihigo's Bonkai. Is there anything that Ishin could technically do to him that would actually kill him at that point?
Are you talking about
Almost
for
nothing.
Kisuke?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kisuke's Bonkai.
I
Yeah,
mean, Kisuke's Bankai is so
is there
like
anything he could technically do?
you could even make the argument since we know that Engensu's Bankai's main weakness is that like Ishin's body has to be able to handle it. We know that that is in and of itself a weakness.
It is massive.
So with the ability to actually be able to physically depower someone with Ken and Baraki, like he could hypothetically neg that Bankai.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
Um,
negs Bankai by negging Ishin. Yeah.
yeah. Um, that's one hypothetical. I'm also extremely convinced. Um, it's a feat really only performed by one character in the series so far, and it's by the little group of hollows called Picaro. A Ronkar 100. I think no Ronkar 99. I think is their number, right? It's Ronkar 99 or
Yeah,
101 or
yeah.
something like that. They are capable of attracting spirit particles. So they can create mini black holes of spirit energy. And they use that to like essentially one shot Azushiro in the Safui novels. I'm convinced that Kisuke should be able to perform the same feat because we see him create a literal wormhole in the Thousand Year Blood War. I'm like, if he can manipulate space time to that degree, I don't see why he can't do that with his Bankai. Like I really don't see why that would be outside the range of his Bankai's ability. So it's like if he wanted to, like he could just create black holes, like little miniature ones, to like really tear up his opponent if he wanted to. Now, like we've seen that like certain transcendent characters that isn't much, but Kisuke is himself isn't transcendent. He's not often fighting transcendent characters, so I think to like your average character, black hole dropping is actually pretty dangerous. Uh, so I think it just depends, but I'm still pretty miffed about this Ishin being placed so high on this list. Also, Alex, thank you for
Urahara, I
engaging
guess.
in the
Yeah, I
chat,
guess I
bro.
can argue.
Thank you for engaging in the chat.
Urahara. I mean,
Hmm.
uh, like it, maybe he can squeeze out with like Batman stuff because like we know he can take down Hikone with like prep time. So I guess you can definitely argue for him being top 10. Like if he gets the Batman boost, but
Yeah,
in raw stats like Urahara is like verbatim like state and champion world that he's like that him and Yuricha like equals in that sense.
yeah. I think like whatever Yoruichi does with her Shunko, like Kisuke could match with like Kido and his Zanpakuto. So and
Yeah.
then like relatively speed wise, they are clearly in the same ballpark. That like even under being poisoned by like the gift ball and the gift ball deluxe, they're still capable of like almost hitting Askin. So I think that actually plays very well to their speed.
Like
I think even
Urahara.
Champion World kick on Alex.
Yeah, did you want to say the Champion World says like Isagi, the only Soul Reaper he can think of being equal to Urahara is like Yuricha or something like that?
Yeah, but then you also got the Turkinata stuff about like Byakuya and all that
Yeah.
relative to Turkinata, and then
Oh, well, to be fair, that I think I actually managed to explain it. I think it's actually only referring to like Yurichi's base form, Byakuya's Shikai. Specifically in Yurichi's case, because she was able to react to like incoming Senbon Zakura and like move away from her leg, and like damage she took wasn't like that big, you know. So if Tokinada is like relative to full power Yuji, he would just like completely one shot her. If he's like relative to um king, like I don't know, Thunder God Yorichi or whatever, like he
Hmm.
would just clap her no diff. So I think like it's referring to like base Yorichi and Shikai Byakuya, which would then explain why if Kisuke can if Kisuke is much stronger into Kinada and Kisuke is like equal to Yorichi, I think it would be like Thunder God Yorichi because remember in the Askin fight he was actually moving at a similar pace to her. Like he could react to everything and he was able to get to Askin at the same speed at the same time she did. So
Yeah, he was kind of like memeing around the entire time as well.
Yeah,
and he has
IKJ
blisters.
IKJ commented he doesn't think Ishin's placement is that bad because how he performed against Aizen in FKT and his comparison. Maybe I missed that line where he's
I
directly compared to Byakuya and Tokinata. I know we talked about earlier about his flames and Engetsu and stuff like that.
there's only that, but I mean if you use that, I guess, but
But we also know that they're not using that because this doesn't take into account novels. So we know that they're not using that. That means they're just going
oh
off
yeah, yeah.
of they're literally going off of the Aizen fight, which we know anyone could have damaged Common Rider Aizen if he was letting them do. So it's not like it wasn't a real feat.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So exclude light. Yeah, if you exclude light novels, then yeah. I mean, IKJH probably doesn't know that this doesn't include light novels. He mentioned Camphor World, so yeah.
Mm.
If you include Camphor World, there's definitely an argument for him being top 12. Um, yeah, without Camphor World, the best you get is like you can't
Uh,
even get him to base Aizen.
I
Like
expect to see Shunsui high. You don't expect to see Shunsui at least higher than Lie because Lie is here at 10.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They're going to act like Shinsui beat Lele. I
But the
mean,
point is like CBR is pretty bad.
uh, and I guess you can maybe argue in like raw stats, but then again, like neither Shinsui or Lele, like in Bankai, especially like Shinsui doesn't really outstat you. He nerfs you and then starts nerfing both of you.
Oh,
He's
dog.
above you in that moment. So that's basically how it works.
I think like
Uh,
tit for tat, like he might be the most like there are characters who have like one singular hacks that's super OP, but like if we're talking about like the person with the most number of hacks it's I think it's Shunsui like by a mile.
uh,
Like it's ridiculous.
okay.
That's if he's Zombacter likes him that day.
If it's feeling generous. I mean like I'm not mad. Oh my, I did not just see that. I'm gonna pretend like I didn't see
Oh,
that.
Kiora, Kiora,
Ukiora.
my boy.
Uryu?
They're referencing the Segunda Etapa, but I don't think he's the. I mean, I guess maybe you can argue Gerard's final evolution is the second Wolfstanding.
We'll see. I have to
Maybe.
read it. So the Thousand Year Blower introduced some remarkably powerful enemies, with Yuhaba's Schutzstaffel being okay. If they're gonna use Schutzstaffel, I'll use Schutzstaffel as the first of Yuhaba's Shrift Ed minions. Okay. Leobaro takes great pride in himself and his overwhelming arsenal. Leobaro's Volstanic, known as Jalal, or Jiliel, sorry, empowers him with arcane. I was thinking Fairy Tale for some reason. Powers him with arcane abilities like teleportation, intelligibility, hyper regeneration. Lie is the only Stern Raider capable of a secondary Volstanic, not unlike Segunda. It's up. I don't. I don't know. I guess technically that is. I don't know if that's true though because he doesn't call it a second Volstanic form, and then
Yeah, he
like.
doesn't, but
Mhm.
that's it wouldn't be like Gerard's because every time Gerard evolves, it's not necessarily Wolfstanding. It's like Miracle. For Lele, I don't see what it'd be anything else except another Wolfstanding.
That's fair. I mean, he does. So Lie seems to think that he is actually a completely different being from everyone else. So like he may just genuinely actually be different. Like for lack of a better phrase, he might actually be built different compared to the other Stern Ritter.
Yeah. Oh, you want to talk about the number of hacks? I think Lily is like number two. Uh,
So
intangibility. Alt
teleportation,
plus delete.
all
Yeah.
plus delete.
Yeah. Yeah. That's basically exact. um, teleportation can freeze you in place.
Oh yeah,
Um,
freezing in place. Yeah.
basically living on a different plane of dimension while tagging you at the same time. has what's called another wolf standing even if you kill him, or like another transformation. So even if you kill him, he's not actually dead. And the only way to kill him in his final form is to reflect his power back at himself.
which is not easy. Which, because it's actually kind of funny, because like you would think that like someone like Lie would be beat in essentially the same way that like Hachigen beat uh Baragon, but in this case it was just kind of directly reflected as opposed to what it was before. Um,
Yeah. I
and that
mean,
still
that only
technically didn't kill
happened.
him. Like he survived
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because like the only the only reason that even happened is because Lily didn't use X-axis for some reason again.
I see. That's the weird thing. I feel like that. I feel like it was still. It's weird because of the way Kubo draws it. Like, there's a chance that he's not using the x-axis. It might just be like pure light energy he's using. Um, but the way it just kind of like erases everything, I feel like it is. But
Yeah,
also, I
I
guess
mean,
if
I
it
don't
was
know.
x-axis, you could maybe make the argument there's a hole somewhere in Soul Society that they haven't cleaned up yet.
Yeah. But
Um,
yeah, it was a battle between like two most busted characters hex wise, besides like Yuha and maybe Rukia.
yeah.
Basically, a comparison between two aces, hexes.
I think that's why I think the Lie fight versus Shunsui is probably the best Elite Guard fight, because it's literally like two of the more hacks people in the series, like essentially trying to see whose hacks is better, and ultimately Lie wins out just for like Shunsui being like,
Until Deus Ex Machina, yeah.
yeah, then Shinsui's like, well, actually, I have another hacks, but it's not my hacks. It's my niece's hacks. Like,
Well,
that's not
really, he
fair.
just needed to bring a mirror. Really,
Could you imagine if that's what actually worked? I think I'd be pretty upset.
that'll be pretty funny. Just brings a mirror and
Oh. Uri Yoshida isn't very strong at the start of Bleach. In fact, he's miles behind Ichigo when it comes to power scaling. I don't. Okay, that's fair. I
No.
guess. I mean, like, I think it really honestly depends at what point we're talking about. I don't think he's miles behind Ichigo. At the only time I'll ever say he's clearly miles behind Ichigo
In
was
FK
like,
in Arankar Saga.
yeah, like FKT is where it gets really bad. Even that
Yeah.
very early version of Ichigo and Uryu, they're closer than like, yeah, they're definitely close. Um,
Yeah, I mean, even if let's say like Soul Society, I think Uri is actually above with Let's Still, um,
yeah, phew.
the Lost Agent arc. Uri is actually like Lost Agent before First Invasion. Uri is actually above base Cool Gay, and like Ichigo is actually worried about getting hit by his arrows. Like Shika Ichigo, sure, but still. And
Well,
then TYBW, like
we
Uri
talked
scales
about
to.
TLA though. TLA is kind of funky because base Ginjo like literally like he no diffed Uryu twice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
don't
it's kind
worry,
of
I'm
weird.
pretty annoyed by the jumps of power that Uru had.
He goes from like he can't even catch up to Tokinada. Now that I think about it, like, Tokinada is able to outpace him. But yeah, and then TYBW where you just scales to Jugram, who's um
Wait,
who's the strongest non-Yuha Quincy.
wait, I'm curious about this. I can't. I hate this. IKJH1 said that he doesn't think strongest form of Lie is fair because against most characters he wouldn't get to that form. I I don't think most. I like you have to like really be fat. You would have to show that a character is faster than not just Shunsui, but Shunsui using his clones. Like that character would
uh
have to be significantly faster to be able to speed blitz base Lie.
yeah, I mean, so he says like the three of them referring to Kisuke, Rich, and Ishin. So if you use like base to base, since he does want to use strong spell assumptions, I don't think base Kisuke and base Yurichi are perception blitzing Lele to a point he can't use X-axis.
Yeah,
That's a realistic possibility because even Shunsui wasn't actually able to do that. Shunsui was just tricking him with the clones most of the time.
exactly.
Like Lily was able to react. So you have to be like a perception blitz above for X-axis not to work. And like Yeah, and I think like sure, I think Shunko Yorichi can do it, like Thunder God, because like
Oh
she
yeah.
did that to Askin. She did that to Askin, so she can do it to Lele. But like
Top of that, you're kind of
can't
presupposing that the opponent knows that they have to one shot Lily as well.
That
that too
too.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Yeah.
think I think it's ironically better for a lot of characters to use strong spell assumptions. Just that Lele, I don't think he outstats Kisuke and Yorichi, but he just Kisuke can maybe tag him with Bankai, and even that's debatable. Yorichi just can't do anything.
But that's another thing, like you just said, like even if you like, let's say like Lie's playing around like he did with Shunsui, you still have to like quite literally just outright kill him before he opens his second eye. And that's another thing I'm glad Havoc cleared up is that like a lot of people always worked on the assumption that like you had to make him open it 3 times for him to go Volstanding. He can go Volstanding whenever he wants. It's just that his requirement is after the third time, it's like okay, you need to go Volstanding. Clearly, if this person has pushed you to use your shrift twice, like there is a problem that we need to fix. So it's like he isn't mandated to go that he's mandated to go that third time, not that he can only
Yeah.
use it after 3 times.
Okay, before I respond to you, Azrael, well, the thing is, IK, Shinsu didn't perception blitz Lele. The thing he did was he made clones and distractions. So like, Lele shoots Shinsu, then Shinsu comes behind his back, and then Kageoni on the ground, then Darona-san, whatever the game is called, and then another game. It's like if he stares at Shinsui, then a clone appears behind him. That's just an after image.
Mm-hmm.
Lily has to keep all of the like he has to keep track of all of these things. Against Yurichi, he just needs to focus on the cat, not blitzing him.
Yeah.
And the reason it needs to be perception blitz is because x-axis is infinite speed. It's like infinite speed. So basically, if he just points the gun at Yurichi, she doesn't kill him before that happens, or she doesn't aim dodge, she's dead. Or
Yeah, she has to aim
depending on
dodge
the
his
hit.
shots.
Yeah.
Right.
So Shinsui doesn't need to be faster than Lille, even though he is. He just needs to distract Lille for like with his clones and everything, and then getting close like he did at the end, which brings me to another thing. Lille, I wonder how isn't he says basically that he doesn't open his eyes 3 times. Those are going to wall standing. So he could give like sinners a fair chance or something like that. So I wonder if like he faces a strong enough opponent. Like I'm wondering if he even needs to do that.
Yeah, probably not. Which is I think is curious as well that like we talk about like he mentions that he's used the X axis in the fight, or at least the defensive version of it, twice before that time we see him get hit by all the clones. What I find interesting about that is that means 2 of those attacks that we seen Lie quote unquote dodge, he actually didn't dodge them. He had to use the X axis to get out, or at least the X axis to a degree that he would not get hit, so that it would seem like a clean dodge. So I do
Yeah, he only
find that
dodged one.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, he only dodged one attack, and
Hmm.
that's from Kageoni. It's when Shinsuke like goes behind him and then Lily ducks, kind of like Stark. That's the only attack he dodges. The other ones, yeah, he actually used X-axis, which is pretty interesting.
Because one of those
Uh,
was a beheadment. Like one of those attacks was aimed at his neck. So I imagine like he probably ducked in like not in time, but like he probably would have had the top of his head taken off if he didn't use the X axis, is what I imagine.
yeah,
Because if Shinsui would have noticed that his sword was passing through this guy's neck before he dodged.
yeah,
But yeah, I think like it's one of those things where you have to clearly like we know, and this is why I think a lot of people don't have Yamamoto over the shoot Stoffel, even though I do, because like when you look at like just how fast Yamamoto is, even way back in Soul Society, he literally catches Shunsui and Jushiro with no difficulty, and then gets past them and ends in their destination before they even get there. That is, he's clearly so far above them in his Shinpo ability. So it's like to pretend that like Shunsui and Jushiro caught up to Yamamoto 2 arcs later, I think is just objectively ridiculous. So like that means
yeah.
Yamamoto's. Mm-hmm.
Infinite World confirms that even like like Shikai to Shikai, Shinsui doesn't even compare whatsoever. Like he's already below Tokinada in raw power. Then Tokinada is like so far below him. Like it's stated that if Tokinada had Yamamoto's spiritual pressure, he would just burn everyone's Zanpakuto and abilities in just one swing,
Yeah.
basically.
So he
Uh,
says, yeah. So he says Lyra got blitzed by Oetsu and Askin barely dodged Oetsu. So like that's my thing. Like the fact that like Oetsu was capable of blitzing, um, um, fuck me. It's right there.
Gerard, Delele, and Pernida.
Yes, thank you. He was able to do that, but then they got boosts from the Oshvalen, so their speed is higher. Um, that's one way to look at it, but then also we have to think about the fact that even though Kisuke and Yoruichi still showed feats on Askin, who is I mean, feat wise, has better reaction than the other three, maybe. It also
Base,
depends
yeah.
on how you look at it. Like, technically he got to see Oetsu, but you still have to react, Um,
Yeah.
but he still,
Yeah,
although he got outright speed blitzed by Yoruichi the way he did, um, he still like he saw the attack, but he couldn't do anything about it. Um, so that just shows that like she is definitely in the speed blitz tier of being able to one shot him, and she has the power to generate to do it. But that's not every character, and like. And I don't mean to use Byakuya as an example because I do love Byakuya, but like even if Byakuya were to go Bankai off rip and hit Lie, like the base version of the Bankai isn't guaranteed to kill him in that one shot. And like if he doesn't, that's pretty bad. Like we saw him do it to Gerard. Like he slapped Gerard and then crushed him with like a swing of his hand. That's exactly what he has to do to Lie in order to get that done. So actually that's a perfect example of a character assuming the worst about another character and just going full force off rip.
Yeah, yeah. Like he, like because Gerard was like, well, what? So it would take a miracle for me to beat you, and Bianca was like, no, fuck this shit. Let's do
Yeah.
this. And then that was
Which
actually the mistake.
yeah.
That's funny. It's funny how Kubo played those tropes. He was like, the trope is like a villain or a hero gives too much time to the opponent, like they're playing cocky. But Bianca actually didn't want to give Gerard any time, which is actually the wrong move.
Was the wrong
I
move, yeah.
really love that.
So there's a
To be
chance.
fair, Gerard's a good shit talker.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's interesting because like Gerard also makes it impossible for them to make another decision. So like, I do find it interesting that we're talking about this. In Gerard, it almost seems like Gerard was making sure his shrift would activate, and this is why I love Kubo not explaining things sometimes. Like the others try to run past Gerard, like, oh, fight Byakuya and let us go by and blah blah. Gerard extends his cape out so much that they can't move. He's like, no, 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 you're all gonna fight me, and I'm like, dog, I really wonder if just like it was just Byakuya versus Gerard on whether or not that shrift would activate.
Yeah, because we know actually it's not necessarily a passive shift. We know Gerard has to do something to activate it
Yeah,
because Askin says when he sees Big Gerard, he's like, "Oh, so Gerard has finally activated his shift." So it's not something that's like passive. So people have discussed, is it when it's an impossible odd and then like it
yeah.
becomes passive afterwards? It's a very ambiguous territory, which I would really like to be asked on Club Outside or something. Like, how does the what's the necessary requirement circumstances for Gerard's shift to start rolling? Which we unfortunately probably won't ever get because Club Outside has irrelevant questions most of the time.
Dog, like I feel like if there
Yeah.
was ever a question to ask, it's about of any shrift. Like Kubo thoroughly explains um the Almighty. He doesn't even explain the balance, but like no one's asking him about the miracle. It's like I feel like it's the most ambiguous shrift aside from the balance. Like actually they're probably both equally ambiguous.
Balance, like balance is probably more ambiguous in the way it works. I would say like the requirements for it are pretty self-explanatory. Like something bad needs to happen to Jugrim.
Yeah.
That's like
Wait, okay. You're talking about his fight with Fullbring Ginjo? Okay, question. Where do you scale Fullbring Bankai Ichigo? I think is the
Yeah,
important
so
question.
yeah, because Fullbring Banka Ichigo, who's holding back, has the badge and is weaker than the one in TYBW because we know he goes on missions, he got a, he trains in character, whatever. It's really tough to scale him. But in if you use Camphor World,
This is
Ichigo is like
bullshit.
really strong. Yeah,
This is
he's like
bullshit.
he's like he's on the level of like Hikone, like basically said to be on the level of Hikone. That has like a weird statement where he's like, "Oh, he's on the level like the strongest version of Ichigo's Getsuga or something." Like it's like
Yeah.
weird. So I would consider that an outlier, but even without that, he would be like Hikone, Shika like he would be like Hikone, Yamamoto tier. Yamamoto would be above, but like Shikayama, um, perhaps Bankai, Kisuke, God, Thunder God Yurichi, Bankai Byakuya, they will all be a bit below him. Yeah, he's like clapping most of the Goten except Kenpachi, and he's
Mm.
beating most of this turn. They're like, I think he beats the elite guard unless they out hacks him. Like I think he outscales all of them pretty easily.
He wasn't. He wasn't. Wait, wait.
Shinsuke,
Hold
oh,
on. Was he saying? Or oh, mentally amped. He wasn't mentally amped against. He wasn't.
no, 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 no.
Ichigo wasn't mentally amped
Ichigo.
against Ginjo.
Yeah,
Like,
Gincho says he's trying to understand him. At the moment, Ichigo, like, they're relative clashing. Then when Ichigo finally decides to get the job done, he necks his Sero with one hand and then breaks his sword and then one shots him.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I
So
don't think they're in the same. Like, even if you want to say like killing intent amped Ichigo is like makes him stronger than Ginjo, like it's clearly significant. He's not like to say that he's like mentally amped to kill him. Like that version that fights Ginjo is not in the same mental space as one that fights Yuhaba. And that Yuhaba, like, even if you want to like compare it, say like the Ichigo that fought that Yuhaba was like in a weakened state, I think
ooh,
his anger amp clearly puts him above uh that version. Like,
also another thing,
hmm
he's weakened, but he's not weaker. Because
yeah,
he gets a Zankai boost and then gets from the Quilgay fight and then gets a Quincy boost, which is like if you look at the note, which Raid got CEO to translate the Japanese stuff.
yeah, 10 times
It says
boost.
basically that yeah, Bluet is a 10 times boost, so he essentially got a Zankai, which you can get to 10 times
Hmm.
via Kenpachi and the others, and then another 10 times from the Bluet, and then you have to keep in mind that this Ichigo would probably be stronger to begin with because there's a time between TLA and TWBW. He just got
Hmm.
full bring Bankai power,
Well,
so
he's strong. Well, he's just stronger after the Ginjo fight just because he fought Ginjo. So we're talking about Ichigo
yeah,
that gets a Zenkai boost from the fight with Ginjo. Then we're getting a one that gets a Zenkai boost from the fight with Ebern. Then
Quilgay, yeah,
Quilgay.
and Quilgay.
Yeah, so we're looking at Ichigo who's already gotten 3 boosts by the time he's fighting Yuhaba. And then like the only time he ever hurts Yuha is when Yuha's off guarded. Like that's the only time he actually hurts him.
Yeah.
So um
Now, to be fair, I know people have underrated that Ichigo by saying, "Oh no, Yuha wasn't trying," but Yuha did say, to cut through Ichigo's boot, which is admittedly 10 times stronger than Ichigo normally is in durability. He does say he will unleash his full power. So, what's interesting about that is this Yuha had absorbed Yamamoto prior. So this Yamamoto absorbed Yuha, who also absorbed other people that died. He thinks he needs to go full power to cut through Ichigo's blood. So if Ichigo was at full power, I think you can make a good argument he beats everyone except Yamamoto at that point.
I think a lot of people underestimate. I think so. It's weird. I think a lot of people also, as you're saying, overestimate that Yuha. Like, there's nothing to say that that Yuha is stronger than the one from 1,000 years ago. If he felt like he truly needed a way to stall Yamamoto, like he's clearly still very much worried about the Bankai he fought 1,000 years ago. I don't think that version of Yuha is that much stronger than his original counterpart, especially what you just said. Like he's still absorbing souls. Um, Now I don't know. So like we talked about this. It says he. I think Jugram says he spread his soul out over this over the second invasion. I don't remember if it was the first invasion. Did he say over the previous battle?
Yeah, yeah, in the previous battle as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
So if he did, then yeah, he's absorbing all these souls, which means he's getting stronger. So like he definitely isn't really that much different from the one that fought Yamamoto 1,000 years ago. And then like again, even if like my whole problem is that I just worry that people are always trying to put full bring Bankai Ichigo over Mugetsu, which I don't that doesn't make sense to me, bro. Like that doesn't
yeah.
and
There's
It's just
there's only one argument, and that's the So the Safui, Tokinada's sorry, not Tokinada, Azushiro stuff that got debunked because we don't know how strong Safui Aizen is.
are you talking about wait, are you talking
Uh,
about Roka or which line are you talking about
so
I
okay,
should I call
I
you
can discuss
Kenpachi as a
Roka.
Shiro?
Yeah,
Uh,
we can. Yeah, that part. So if he admits inferiority, sure, but we don't know how strong Aizen is because we know he lost possession, quote unquote, of the Hogyoku, but that was his will, not the Hogyoku betraying him, obviously. So we don't know how strong that Aizen is. The last time we saw that Aizen, he was weak enough to get sealed by Kisuke's Kido, so he's obviously not transcendent anymore. Uh, Hiroka stuff that got debunked because Hiroka herself says she's nowhere near the level of Mugetsu.
yeah.
Roka actually, which is I think what people may have not read. Uh, Roka can't even perform speed-wise. She's not even the level of Zumari's Sonido.
Well, well, if we were to use like the main argument for, I think it would be Hub's argument, and Hub argues that when Ginjo and Tsukushima are referring to Ichigo's Soul Reaper powers that he's getting back, they're specifically referring to the Dangai form,
But
that
the
fought.
problem is the Dangai form is like compressed versions of like all three. So and then I think people use the badge argument, but what's weird about the badge is like, so are they returning him to the level of the one that fought Ukiura? Yes, he loses the badge after. The Vast Lord they disintegrates the badge.
Well, I don't think it quite literally disintegrated the badge because he still has a badge. I don't remember him getting. They don't show him getting another one, and I don't think the novels ever talk about getting him another badge. Either way, I don't think it matters because when we look at like the power, and I think this was one of the other problems. I didn't explain it well when I was debating this with Hub, but like the the main thing is that like he thinks that Dongai is just 3 months of training, but Dangai is 3 months of training where Ichigo fuses with his Zanpakuto, which clearly gives a power boost. But on top of that, that same Dangai Ichigo overpowered Monster Aizen. Yes, Monster Aizen hurt Dangai Ichigo, but Dangai Ichigo then slapped away uh
Fraggle.
yeah, Ultra Fragor. Ultra Fragor was 6 times more powerful than the Fragor that hurt him in the first place. So
Yeah,
to sit here and pretend that like Don Guy Ichigo isn't a transcendent monster, I think is a complete misunderstanding of what Kubo was
yeah.
going for in that
And,
moment against Aizen.
and there's like another argument, which is like Ichigo states in like Rebuild Souls data book. It says because he says all the powers I had lost and I'll have them back. So he says that when he's in full bring Shika and then you get full bring Bankai, over.
Yeah.
And then he has when he says I've returned all of my powers, there's actually a shot of Mugetsu. So like there's an argument you can make for full bring, even though in my opinion, I've been talking with Clement for like a lot, and he believes that it doesn't organically sit well with me. But I can see the argument now better than before. I was like it's complete dismisser. I can now see the argument better, but there's still like the fact that like Yuha states, the powers you have, you've lost against Aizen returned, you're now standing before them,
Hmm.
before me with them. Then it's like referring to Mugetsu. The anime actually kind of changed it because it says now that Mugetsu is only a fragment of Shika Ichigo's power. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Well,
full
what's
bring.
interesting he's talking to that true Shikai in like we also know in the manga, like the moment Aizen, like the moment like Yuha truly like says, you have regained the power that you've always had. That line specifically comes during when Ichigo is ready to fight him at the end of the series. And he has already fought True Shikai Ichigo. He fights him in the Royal
Fullbring,
Palace the
yeah.
first time. No, he fights True Shikai Ichigo in
Yeah,
the Royal
yeah, yeah.
Palace. So
Yeah, I mean, he also fights Fullbring Bankai, but he doesn't say that to Fullbring Bankai. So
exactly.
he doesn't have.
And he's talking about the power that you've always had. The only time Ichigo ever got full access to his powers was Mugetsu. Like that is the only time he could ever be referring to Ichigo finally getting the power he's always had. So I'm like, that's why that line always sticks out to me. But I want to make sure we stay on because we're talking about the topic of the article. I want to try to stay.
Yeah.
We've diverted from
So
the
you
article.
do. So Jogram was the next one.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
very
Jogram.
pissed at 7. At 7, this makes no sense to me.
He actually he can be higher. Yeah.
Like even if we don't use the editor's note like as evidence, there is nothing to justify that anyone is higher than the Grand Master of the Sternritter.
Yeah. Yeah. Shinsu literally lost to someone who's below
Yeah.
him.
Oh, like and I'm a massive Shunsui fan. And I'm not okay with him being at 6. Like this is crazy. Zaraki at
Shinsu was
5.
lucky that
Uh,
Shinsu was lucky Nana put that Quincy barrier. That's all I'm going to say.
dog. I I really hope that we get to see a little bit of an exchange. Although it wouldn't go well for him, I want to see a little bit of an exchange between Shunsui and Jugram.
Especially considering at this time, do we know if Shinsui's Zanpakuto would like him enough to do hacks?
I feel like against someone like Jugram, I don't think me personally, I don't know if Katen would be like, let me not give him his power. Let me not mess with
Yeah.
him this time.
I mean,
Oh.
against Robert, it was completely okay with Robert killing him, so I don't know about that one.
Bro, yo, the Robert fight was so fucking. Oh my god. Because I didn't understand Shinsui. So, against Stark, right? It's not that dire of a situation. Like, they're doing decently against the Espada, but he's like. The dialogue states he unleashed the full power of cutting Kyokas of his Shika, whatever. Then he does use dirty tricks to take down Stark. Against Robert, everyone is dying. Like Yakia, Toshiro, they lost their bankas, whatever. And Shusu is just so casual. He loses an eye, he's still casual. It's not until Yamamoto wakes his ass up that he actually starts trying. I
Hmm.
was just so weirded out by Shinsu. I get he's laid back, but like the first invasion was such an anomaly for him. And then he gets unfortunately off guard because Yama gets killed.
And on top of that, he doesn't use his Zanpakutos. Well, I mean, obviously he does use his swords, but like I'm referring to the abilities and all that. So it's just like,
Yeah.
what is his Zanpakuto doing though?
What are you talking about? In what case?
Like, is his Zanpakuto generally trying to get him killed against Robert? There's not granting him access to any abilities.
I mean,
I mean, with the
your Zanpakuto is you, so
with the how
to be
temperamental, yeah, with how temperamental Zanpakuto is, I wouldn't. With his one in particular, I wouldn't be surprised.
Shunsui is just like, oh, I just lost my eye. The Zanpakuto, good riddance. You didn't need it anyway.
Didn't need it anyway. 5 for Zaraki, I don't think is bad at all. I genuinely don't think this is a bad pick. Now,
I think the only thing is like if doesn't make sense if he's above Gerard. Um, if we use TYBW since they aren't using light novels, like Gerard, yes, he was below Bankai Kenpachi, but he gets a Vol standing than another form. It's like even scaling wise, I don't think Kenpachi's beating. Um,
Yes,
I
your
think he.
best way to say is to say like it's unclear for Zaraki. That would probably be like the best argument to provide
Yeah.
because like
Uh,
he basically took himself out of the fight because of the side effects of his bonkai.
yeah.
come
Okay.
back.
In Cancer World, so when I say he's above, I'm saying in stats, Kenpachi doesn't have a clear way of defeating Gerard, and like if he gets the miracle, obviously, like Gerard would just infinitely evolve, basically. But just in stats, yeah, Confirm Kenpachi, no diffs Gerard.
I'm well, so this is another thing. So like we were talking about like the requirements for like the shrift to activate. I feel like just having to fight Kenpachi would qualify the Shrift. Like, I feel like if there was
Yeah, I
ever a
mean,
time it would qualify,
Bankai,
it's that.
Bankai. Yeah, if you use standard battle assumptions, well, it's like base Gerard would have to face Bankai Kenpachi from Carrier. I think that's enough of a miracle.
I'll be there soon, but yeah, I don't like.
Yeah.
That's definitely a qualifier. I don't. My thing is that like I was definitely me and Raid were pushing hard for Shunsui over Kenny for a while there, and then like we had that debate one time in VC, and I think like we kind of all felt the conscious shift of like, wow, Shunsui over Kenny makes no sense. Like I remember like all of us just sitting there like, or at least me and Raid were just like, oh yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Kenpachi just
He's yeah.
just went to the moon.
Yeah, he's a monster.
So who's below Kenpachi? Rather above?
Sosuke Aizen at 4, which I think is all wrong. Yeah,
Wait,
I'm
wait.
not with this.
I assume Soul King is in there. Soul King, Ichigo Yuha. I assume.
Ichigo's at 3. Ichibe Hyosube is 2. That's what they have. I'm not trying to be mean cuz I genuinely don't want to like I wouldn't want to what's the word, shame anyone for thinking Ichibe is higher. Um because like some of the stuff is a bit outdated, but like I, if you've read to the end of the series, you know exactly how powerful Aizen is. And for you to like infer that like Aizen is below Ichibe is just it's just ridiculous. Now, if you wanted if they were like talking about like Aizen pre Muken, I I'm definitely one of those people that's like I would love to have seen Aizen versus the Elite Guard fight. But anything that's in the Thousand Year Blood War, that Aizen is terrifying. We were
Even
talking about
even
this. He used a directed Soul Crush on all of Soul King Yuhaba's Black Ryatsu. Killed all of them specifically without harming Shuhei, Ikaku, Soifone, like without hurting anyone else. He crushed all of it. That's terrifying. Like that Aizen is way above Ichibe.
And then gets one shot by Nana. Ha ha ha.
People are gonna be so mad when they see that. I know for a fact. People are gonna be mad when they see that.
yeah. I mean, bro, there are actually different. There are also parallels to like on how much stronger even True Ichigo is compared to Ichibe. Ichibe gets necked by Almighty Yuha. That same Almighty Yuha, like Ichigo just straight up blocks his attack with just like a slightly burned hand. And then when he faces Yuha again, who absorbed the Soul King, Gerard died. No, sorry, not Gerard. I believe Askin, Lille died. Some of the other Quincy, whatever, Basby absorbs all of them. Then absorbs the Soul King.
Hmm.
And he sees Ichigo. He's like, Rukia states, "Oh, you can sense that thing, brother. That's on Yuha's level." How is Ichibe?
Well, and then
Then
we
you
see
add Horus
Bankai
Salvation.
Ichigo. Yeah, then we see
Yeah.
Bankai Ichigo's in one shot Getsuga tier of that same Soul King. And you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah. And then
Actually, it's funny how
Horus
Ichibe.
Salvation. Go on, go on,
Keep
go
going.
on. Go on.
I was just gonna say it's funny how Ichibe like he genuinely does talk as if he's above like Ichigo. Like, oh, I know you can't beat Ewok, but you can stop him. And then like when he was actually fighting Ewok, it was like, oh my god, I could crush you at full power completely. Like I'm actually just helping you by cutting your power in half to save your pride.
No, like so I think when that's a great example because like when Ichibe is fighting that Yuhaba, it's literally not Almighty. The moment the Almighty turns on, he punches a hole right through Ichibe. And then the Almighty, like, because it was almost like the shotgun gun, like he had the two eyes, and then he's smack talking Ichibei and crushing Ichibei's power with just two eyes of the Almighty. Then he gets the third eye, and that's when he literally disintegrates, like he blows Ichibei apart. So it's like
Yeah.
not even at full almighty power, he was capable of just like severely wounding Ichibei. So it's like
Yeah.
to sit here and pretend that like Ichigo is below him after that is just kind of
I know.
ridiculous.
It's just funny, but the way Ichibe talked, he was like generally like 40 was generally above Ichigo.
I could
Yeah.
maybe see like if we use Zayad's scale of like Ichibei implying he could um like he
I mean,
Yeah.
could
America
reseal
knowledge
If
Ichigo.
he
could be false. Is the
Yeah,
thing.
he could be
But then
wrong.
again, he's meant to be wise, so what is
yeah,
going
Yeah.
I
on
mean,
then?
as like maybe Ichibei for some reason got so massively stronger, but yeah, in TYBW there's just like there's no arguments at all. Like you can't even get Ichibei over Shushikai.
Well, so the person is using an interesting statement. They're using the I took some of your power. But I'm like, I don't know if that still would get him over Ichigo.
No.
No,
If he took only a
no.
small part, yeah, if he took a small part, that doesn't matter
It was
because
just
then
enough to
Ichigo.
reform his body. That was
Yeah.
the point of it.
I think
He
that's what he
never
says, right?
reconstructed himself. Yeah,
That's what he says right after. He's like, I just took enough to reconstruct my body. I think is exactly the
yeah.
full line, right?
And then he sends him off to go fight Ewok at
Yeah.
lower power than normal, which is funny.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Well, we also know that
Yeah.
what happens when people steal Ichigo's power, that they never actually steal Ichigo's power. They just steal like a little surface level version of it.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then
because he's a
Ichigo,
freak.
even if he took Ichigo's power, okay, then Ichigo has Horn of Salvation plus Quincy boost plus Bankai. With Bankai that Almighty
Uh,
Sulking Yuha was like, no,
v-
we're not going to
Plus
have that.
Bloodline.
yeah.
Yeah.
Vegeta, Toshiro is actually older than quite a few characters. Kubo was very. The anime actually does a poor job because the anime states explicitly that Toshiro is younger than Momo, but in actuality he's older. That makes Toshiro older than Renji, Rukia, Momo, Izuru, Shuhei. Like he's actually quite older than most of those characters. Um, the only character that he's arguably younger than that we can verify is like Byakuya and Gin. Like that's
So
really it.
And they
Huh?
were really saying that he's the youngest.
Yeah, the anime explicitly states that he's younger than because if you go to the Wikipedia cites the anime stating that he's younger. But Kubo confirmed in Club Outside that he's actually older than Momo. So yeah, that would make Toshiro like younger than Byakuya and Gin, but older than the new generation.
yeah.
So yeah, Toshiro's age is actually that adult form is probably this around like slightly younger than Byakuya and Gin. But yeah, we
Yeah,
all
I'm
see the
interested.
huh?
I'm interested in like seeing like because Toshiro is still if he's on that age, if he's in the same age category as them, like I'm wondering like why in the hell is he still like yeah Ruki is short, but not only is Toshiro shorter, but he has a more childlike face. Just like wondering what the fuck is up with that.
I think Kubo put him back in his child form just for the recognizability of it. But if there was ever a time Toshiro, like, because Toshiro's gone through a redesign like everyone else. He's had his clothes and his stuff changed. But I think if there was ever a time to just like, because you know what that implies? That implies he still hasn't mastered his power, which is ridiculous because he says he finally mastered his Bankai. But then I guess we
Yeah.
kind of know that's not true because
I
he
guess
then still
he
has the
mastered
pedals.
it. I guess he mastered it to a point where he doesn't his body doesn't break down from using the adult form.
Oh, that's
Like
true.
against the
Yeah,
what's his name? The ranker number
11,
11.
11 Xiaolong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now
Yeah.
it creates a weird area where he basically has a Sekundo or Tapo. And
Yeah,
one side is in a
Yeah.
Bankai.
I just think it's a
Yeah,
bad
IK
choice not
says
having him be an adult 10 years later. That's just weird.
yeah. IK even said something's up with Toshiro. His body matures at the same. Yeah. Like Ranji, look at like Ranji looks like a fucking geezer compared to him.
Well, I think that's the Zanpakuto. So like, I think Toshiro really throws everyone off as far as the age thing. But if we look at it, there's a reason he is younger. Like his Zanpakuto is holding him back because we know his body can't physically handle it. So he needs the adult body to do it. But like why that's still a thing 10 years after the war arc to me makes no sense. Like now Kubo has
Yeah.
lost me.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we know Rukia was promoted to a captain, so assume she to some degree master her Bankai, which is
Yeah.
and that's what Byakuya says is like the average Byakuya says that it's like an average time to master your Bankai like 10 years, and then he's probably thinking about like the average Bankai users, not even like prodigy, like once in a lifetime prodigies like Toshiro.
Mhm. Well, so what's
So
interesting is that's another thing I've seen like a lot of new fans misinterpret the line. It's once you get the Bankai, it's 10 years to master. I don't know why people misheard the line it takes 10 years to get Bankai. Someone could get Bankai in any amount of time. It's the act of mastering it is the problem.
yeah,
Yeah. But I mean like this list is kind of all
Sasuke
over
got
the
his in a
place.
month.
Huh?
Sasuke got his in a month.
Yeah. Exactly. He got his in a month. Actually, you know what's scary? For someone who got his Bankai in a month, he used it extremely well. Like, I
like
think
the
that was the
anime.
scariest part. Well, yeah, that was the anime, but like, I still think like that's he literally like he didn't just use his Bankai. He used like an advanced version of his Bankai, and that's ridiculous.
Of the Sasaki
The
to use
Sasuke
it again.
scale is crazy, dog.
Oh god, Sasakibe to Yuha, then oh god, what were people even arguing that like you can't necessarily say Yama is relative to Yuha in the first invasion because like we know Yuha is relative to him because he can steal the Bankai, but Yuha can also be above and steal
Yeah.
his Bankai. And then Sasakibe over Yama over anyone in the Gote because of because of the 13 blade statements
Mm.
whatever. I heard that.
My thing about this list though that bothers me so much is that like Hachigen Ishoda is on this list the same time as Yuhava. Like there are so many like there is not a single aside from Ichibei, there is not a single zero division member on this list.
Yeah, there's like was what's called um was Bembieta on this list?
No.
No,
And she's
Bembieta,
above
Bast,
Renji.
neither was Mask.
I mean, I'm not surprised by
I mean
none of the
Ken.
Fem Raiders are on here, which like I don't know like you know what's weird though, even for like cuz like when we looked at this earlier, you weren't here for this, but did you see the justification for Grimjow over on the top 20? It's because he
I
casually beat Askin Naklavar.
I see.
Dog, that is a spin campaign if I've ever heard one. Like this is up there with like Ichigo was terrified of Grimjow in Thousand Year Blood
Oh
War.
god.
Like
Yeah.
that's up there with that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like I know how people can misread a fight like that, and then
No,
yeah,
IK
obviously this
Toshiro's
is
on the list.
like okay, they aren't using light novels, but then you look at light novels, it's like yeah, Grinch isn't even Berrigan level. Yes.
I'm telling you, man, it's this list is so it's like I was already upset at Hachigen because I'm like you could even argue that Hachigen's not even the strongest visored, so it's like weird. And then you got Grimjow, bad choice. Like, but then everyone else actually does technically deserve to be here. They are in that tier of power. They're just either not in the right order, or then you got like Ishin who's being wanked to all hell. Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
there is no like you have to go digging for these random things to get Ishin this high. Another thing is like young Ishin is comparable to White. Like,
Oh, no,
and
no,
then
no.
he
Young Yishin is complete fodder. He's below White that couldn't finish off an injured Byakuya in Soul Society. The one that
yeah, the one that
the one
breaks
that
the
tried
seal.
to get Yeah, the one that fired two Getsugas at Byakuya, that one that couldn't kill him. That's where Ishin scales below. Like Ishin scales below that. So, like Ishin doesn't even scale like to FKT Byakuya whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like how do you like young
Like
Ishin?
the
Young
yeah,
Ishin.
the young
Jumping
Ishin.
power.
So it's like you have to justify, like you would have to like make the argument, which there's no evidence that like Ishin trained off screen so much that he was able to get to this level that they're putting him at, but he doesn't have the time to do that because Ichigo doesn't. Ichigo is a high school student. He doesn't have time. Ishin's an actual doctor who has to take care of his kids and shit. Like he does not have the time to train that hard.
And
I
even
mean, he
his
says
scaling to base
himself he's a terrible father. So
That's fair. Now you could make the argument because he is a royal that it doesn't apply to him, but like Ichigo himself is not just a royal; he is a royal and a supreme hybrid or borderline chimera. He's a chimera at this point. Like uh, if Ichigo isn't getting those power boosts, Ishin's not getting those power boosts. And we talked about this earlier with Toshiro. Like the power jumps that Toshiro gets, Ichigo doesn't even get those. And then like Kenpachi's power is retroactive, so like that one doesn't even count. So again, like it's just like putting Ishii this high to me is just I don't understand it. I think if of all the things on the list,
it's
this is
weird.
the one that bothers me the most. Yeah, it sounds weird, but this
um
is what bothers me the most, and and I love Ishin.
yeah. I would also like to say it's like his getting to base size is also like quite questionable. Um Not even just like a Cocoon, it's like just base is like Aizen was getting his soul devoured in mid fight.
He's getting his soul devoured on top of,
Aizen using Kyoko Sugetsu, and
yeah.
then you can also make an argument that like he was fighting Yamamoto and everything. It's
Yeah, he
like
took a 96 to the face. He then took a Getsuga that
Getsuga to
literally
the shoulder.
separated his shoulder from his body. Like he took some damage. It wasn't like he got off scot free up until the point he fought Ishin.
And he was
How do we
mean
know?
Aizen. Where he was
Yeah.
literally walking out. He wanted to see everything Urahara wanted to throw at him, like he was just fucking around.
Okay, so how do we know that White is weaker than Zagetsu? You would have to prove SC Chigabari could handle Ryatsu. Okay, so Ishin, Ishin verbatim states that the White that took over Ichigo against Byakuya is above him. Like his Ryatsu is
Yeah,
above Ishin's from the past,
it's the soul
which is
tether.
why the seal, yeah, the
Yeah,
soul tether broke because of that. So the White, that's what Ishin, even though people like to say it's like the same look, therefore it's like strongest Vassal or the Ichigo or something like that, or like full power White.
it's not.
That just
Yeah,
doesn't. Yeah, it's not. It's not like Ulquiorra would like base Ulquiorra would like smack around that White,
yeah.
let alone like Segunda Etapa would just be overkill, and like yet Segunda Etapa, obviously couldn't beat White. So that Ishin, like, it's not even uh ridiculous to say so because we know, except for Nohana Yamamoto, the captains of the past were really unimpressive.
They're very
They
weak.
were
If Safi was good for anything, it's establishing like the captain's power levels, like why the OG-13 is considered so powerful, and then why they're not getting back to that power level until like FKT and Thousand Year Blood War.
yeah, because like none of like fucking Six Kenpachi was like, oh, maybe in the future, this bunch of bozos can't even take down Vassalord. It's like then
Oh, that was
you see
embarrassing.
and then you see like what's it called, you see like FKT characters like they're just backing up Arankars. They're able to fight natural born Arankars like Stark and Ulquiorra, and
Oh,
that's like called like they would be above way above the Vassal Lord days that the captains couldn't even beat, like before even the Hogyuku stuff they would be above. Yeah, so
Yeah,
like
we talked about, and that's something we talked about as well, like
and
trying to
Yamamoto
get
and
the.
Nohana are basically carrying it.
Yeah, because Kuryoshiki says that like the only people he could see no diffing like Adhuchis and easily defeating Vassal Lorde is like he leaves out Yamamoto, but clearly Yamamoto's the strongest Soul Reaper. He says like Kiryu Hikifune, which gives a scaling for Kiryu, by the way. So why the fuck is she not on this list? But uh but like Kiryu, he's like Kiryu can no diff of Vassal Lorde. Um and then he says Unohana can no diff of Vassal Lorde and stuff like that. So it's like aside from those people who were like just born or from the old times that are just that powerful, like your average captain class soul reaper is not, and that kind of follows what Toshiro said, like an average captain class soul reaper is not beating a vassal lord in a fight. So that's
No,
accurate, but by the time we get to FKT, a lot of those captains are no longer your average captains.
Yeah, I mean,
What were you
you
gonna say?
know,
Wait, hold
like
on. I think Candace was gonna say something.
how it gets even funnier is even the Barragan's lieutenants were actually all meant to be like a fair few of them were meant to be Vassal Lord as per like that Kenpachi statement that like he heard like one of them die and then call out Barragan's name in a honorific tone.
Yeah, a vassal. He killed a vassal lord. It was calling out to Baragan, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's very interesting, and that was my reason for putting Baragan over people like Xylopros, just because like it's one thing to be able to fight and kill another vassal lorde. It's another for them to like completely subjugate themselves to you, especially when you're talking about creatures that are like either extreme, like they embody people's aspects of like whether it be pride or greed or things like this or wrath. So it's interesting that you would find hollows that would just completely prostrate themselves to a being that they would consider a god. I'm like that is
And then you even
power.
got the throwback to Ashido that he could even have killed it because like he thought that Ashido would kill one before he did.
Yeah, which is interesting because I'm like that's actually pretty good for Ashido to be considered that powerful that he can. But it makes sense if he's sitting there fighting hollows day in and day out, he would be that strong.
Yeah.
But I think that's actually a good place to end it. Y'all have a good
Yeah, it
night.
would be.
Thank you, Candace. I know Alex just dropped out, but thank you guys for showing up. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you for interacting in the chat. That usually makes it the lives more fun. I definitely like doing these things.
Alex
Maybe we'll
dropped back
do it.
in if you want to say your goodbye.
Oh, he dropped back in. Thank you, Alex, again for dropping in. And thank you for interacting in the chat. I don't know, maybe we'll do a Havoc video next time, or maybe another YouTube video, or we can just keep doing these CBR videos because they're great for a good laugh.
I mean, they're always entertaining, but if you keep doing the same content consistently, some people might get
we can
Yeah,
also do
bored.
why
We'll see.
we can also do why Ulquiorra just solos, but
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
I wish you were here for the Ukiora versus Asnot video. That was
Or we could
uh
just like critique some YouTubers' videos anyway.
yeah. I'm thinking if I do another death battle one, I'll probably do Kakashi versus Obi-Wan because that's anime related. Um, I don't think most people would be interested in hearing my takes on like the DC comics or Marvel comics or some of the Square Enix characters like Final Fantasy stuff. But we'll
Yeah,
see.
definitely.
I'll probably poll it and we'll see. All right, gentlemen.
Yeah,
Thank
definitely.
you again for coming out. Y'all have a good night. This thing it's a weird time to do a goodbye, but my computer needs to restart, so it's moving extremely slow.
Yeah.
Obi-Wan has the high ground.
That will usually win him the
Obi-Wan
fight.
over.
Oh, without a doubt, I think so. I mean, I never actually paid attention to the Kakashi versus Obi Wan stuff. I watched it, but I actually somehow didn't pay attention to a single thing they said.
Well, I mean, people criticize them for the research, so I don't blame you for it.
Dog, somebody asked me under the eyes. I think it was the eyes